We're now live. How are you guys doing?
Here we are.
How are you guys doing? Happy afternoon.
Happy Monday.
It's Monday. Let me leave a comment so we can stick there. Hi. Camille, how you guys doing? We're here. Me and Alice are talking about A Raisin in the Sun, but I'm going to...
Welcome to our club.
Welcome to the Cinema Club. Again, for people that don't know what we're doing, every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are talking about cinema classics. We're both filmmakers as well as actors, directors, and producers. And so during this whole pandemic, we've kind of been watching movies, and we figure it'd be great to like a book club, but just,
Cinema club.
movies.
Like movies.
But so what's going on out there? How are you doing, Alice? How you been?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
I've been great, but I forgot wearing my contact lens today, so I can't see any of you guys comment.
I'll shout people out.
Absolutely, thank you. How have you been?
I've been good.
I heard you've been doing your post-production in your film.
I've been
How's
doing
that go?
post-production on the film, and
Are you almost done?
am I almost done? That's a good question. No. Hopefully soon. How do I stick this in here? There we go. Boom. So, what's up? How are you guys doing? I'm doing post-production on my film, Fabulous Filipino Brothers, and it's so much... We're learning a lot, because even though I produce a lot of films, when you're directing, you got to be hands-on on everything, and there's parts of the post-production world that I just kind of left up to my other directors, okay, make sure it gets done. But I've been in the studio listening to... we've been doing this thing called ADR, which someone on another stream made sure we defined it as audio dubbing or something. I forgot the R now. But... so it's basically going in and dubbing lines that were not clear or things that there was sound over. And so we had a bunch of actors in the Bay Area doing that kind of stuff, including my brothers and myself. And so my sister doing narration over the film. So
how did you guys collaborate, or how do you guys work through this pandemic time period? People just asking all the questions, how do you work during this time, especially for filmmakers?
Right.
This job is really intimate. How do you guys do it?
Well, it's audio dialogue replacement. Thank you, CPM filmmaker. I appreciate that. Or audio dialogue recording. Caroline said. So I'll take both those.
Replacement. It's both of them.
Hinche, Lena, what's up? Zuko impression. Zuko talks like me, so I'm always impersonating him. But as far as how we've been working personally is with my editor, we've been doing remote editing via Zooms and Google Meetings. They can share the screen. It's not the ideal way to do it, but in a time where it's where we can't really get face to face with each other, we just do that. And then also you and we've been writing another script, and sometimes we get together like this.
I can't wait that script.
Yeah, and we write together, but also sometimes we have a program we're using called...
Yeah, so the program, but I'm saying we
have a program called Writers Duet that updates in real time, so we also write sometimes remotely from our own places. Yeah.
So let's go back to our main point.
So the movie we watched this last week is called A Raisin in the Sun. The poster's behind us. It's starring Sidney Poitier, Ruby Dee. What are the other cast members? Claudia McNeil, Diana Sands. There was an early showing of young Louis Gossett Jr., who went on obviously to have a really illustrious career. It's a really great, such a great film. I mean, well, let's talk about the film first. There's some filmmakers out there I know that want to come and talk on and explain the film with us. And there's so much to talk about in this film. How did you feel about it?
First of all...
Should we give a background what the film is? So people that have not watched the film, what's the film about, Alice?
This film's about its whole family members. They are fighting for their own individual dreams. And at the end of the day, they all give up their own dreams and then come together, fight for the family.
Right.
They come back to reunion.
They want different things.
They want different things. Mother wants a different thing. Husband wants a different thing. Wife wants a different thing. Sister wants a different.
And this is 1961.
1961
in Chicago.
Chicago, South Chicago.
Southside Chicago, and it's an African American family.
Absolutely. A typical African American family. It's really charming.
Of that time, right?
Of that time, and it really melody, like it's so it's really like life. You will see this family in the beginning of this film. I thought it's only like 3 people living in this house,
right?
And then later on, sister comes and mother comes, like, oh, and then we're like,
and the grandchild
sleep
on the couch. It's a multi-generational household, which, I mean, I'm Filipino, so it's very. I grew up that way to a large degree. The film was very personal to me and very emotional for me to watch. I watched it years ago, and I think it maybe meant something different to me years ago as it does to me now. But I was emotional through the whole film.
I did. I was emotional too. This film, absolutely, they win a lot of awards. They win Golden Globe awards for Best Actor, and then they won BAFTA award for best foreign actor.
For
Sidney
Poitier. Because I guess originally Sydney's from another country.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. And Golden Globe Award for Best Actress, and Director Guild of America Award for Outstanding Film, and Writer Guild, and etc. So I'm not gonna name it everything.
Yeah, Lost Girl Anika over there, Anikama or something like that. She said it's a powerful book. I know it's based on
based on the book.
I guess the book or the play by Lorraine Hansberry, which is a very powerful book. He's Bohemian, says Calvary. Harry, thank you so much. I'm glad that you guys are chiming in because you guys gave us all the information that we don't always know.
Exactly.
But I did read Sidney Poitier's book, A Measure of a Man. I'm a big fan of Sidney Poitier, and a bunch of his films, like In the Heat of the Night, of course, his film Raisin in the Sun, To Serve with Love, Look Who's Coming to Dinner. He's, he came up in the 60s and the 70s and very prolific in a very political way through art. Like even this film, it's not over the head political, but it's, in light of all the times we're going through right now, Black Lives Matter, to see a black family going through things and the humanization of that is really powerful. And not just for African American families, but all people of color, like my family and those of us that are underrepresented through the years through Hollywood, to see a film like this and portray not stereotypes, but to portray like really humanistic things, and it's really powerful. His book, A Measure of a Man, was a beautiful, beautiful book that I was definitely emotionally engaged with. It just seeing him coming to Hollywood and things he went through. This particular film, my memory of it and seeing it again and in some research I did, it was around the same time as like Marlon Brando was doing Streetcar Named Desire. And both of them, they were on Broadway together doing these plays. And so, of course, Sidney Poitier, Marlon Brando, a lot of us know, especially actors. He's a great actor, maybe the greatest. He's like the GOAT actor that changed all of acting forevermore to make this more naturalistic acting. And it started out with this play he did on Broadway called Streetcar Named Desire. And in Brando's book, and even in Sidney Poitier's book, they would talk, and also Quincy Jones' autobiography, they would talk about getting together after the play would be done, like when they're young in their 20s, and it was like Brando would hang out with Quincy and Sidney, and they would be doing their plays, and they're so excited by the night, and Quincy would get out of some kind of like rehearsal with his band, and they would party all night, going to jazz clubs and hanging out until morning, and end up at some Chinese food restaurants at like 6 a.m. It's like young Sidney and Brando hanging out. But the irony of that is, the performance in this film, which you can see, which, again, I never saw it, of course I didn't see the play, but to see what he's doing in the movie, and same thing with Brando.
You can see, some elements is kind of like Broadway performance. Right. Like, way he expressed himself.
You can tell him
way
from
body
stage,
language.
but the charisma of him.
It's like 100%.
Right, because in a lot of ways, I think in Streetcar, the actual play isn't about Brando. but Brando's character, Stanley Kowalski, became like the star of the play. The movie, the actual play was about Blanche Duval. But also this is kind of like the play. The movie really probably revolves around the wife and what's going on with her and the mom. But also Sidney's performance is so strong, he became a star.
Oh, I thought that's his.
Huh?
And the whole movie, and the entire movie, I thought that was his perspective.
Yeah, but I don't think that's how originally worked out. But I think the performances were part of what made that happen. Because it's really, I mean, in this film, it's really an ensemble piece. Because he's just one story. His wants of what he wants is just like one piece of the story. The mother's wants are humongous. The sister's wants are humongous.
Yeah.
And even the wife and what she's going through, trying to kind of appease the rest of the family. It's more of a more or less an ensemble piece. But the power of what Sidney did, he became the superstar.
The superstar.
But that happens sometimes in acting. It's like the actors and actresses come on stage.
Why do you think? Because he tried really hard, or you think he?
I think his charisma and when I read his book, I really understood how he came about this part and how he approaches his work, and his point of view. Really, it's powerful. You know.
I mean, well, it's like, of course, everybody, we're talking about Black Lives Matter, which is absolutely right. And with that film specifically, beyond the black color, that family value is there.
Totally.
And everybody, I'm Asian, everyone can relate it on that story.
Right.
Like, I mean, right now, if you pitch it to any story to anybody, like, oh, can this person relate it? Can that person relate it? Can this person? Like, if it's human story, it's a human story.
Right.
And
Transcends.
So I feel like I'm in that family. I'm struggle with them.
Right.
And I'm of course I can't like walk in with their shoes.
No.
But like that performance, the style of their acting, like literally like drag me into that film. Like feel like, oh my god, this is like ordinary family, like low income family.
Any family, from blue collar family.
Their struggle.
Right.
Like,
and I think every family at every level goes through this similar kind of struggle. Everyone's trying to fighting to be seen and heard. But yeah, it was emotional, kind of like, because I mean I was definitely kind of shook by watching it again. Carly asked if I can elaborate how the film evolved since the first time I watched it. I think when the first time I watched it was, I don't know, I was probably a teenager the first time I watched it in film school. Yeah. Probably. Then I watched it again probably in my 20s, and then now in my 40s, it's really, because especially, I mean, I guess I'm a guy.
Is it different, like, when you watch it right now, and then when you watch it in teenage, when you watch it in the same movie, and you feel different?
You understand, like,
you understand a different level.
When I came up in the 90s and whatnot, I was definitely a part of Black Hollywood. Like, Black Hollywood. In Hollywood, you guys, there's like the studio system, and we don't call it white Hollywood. It's just a system. It's just the regular Hollywood. And it's not. I don't say it to be racist. I'm just saying it how business works. And there was, in that time, from 70s to 80s, 90s, the lack of representation for people of color. But and again, it was led by African Americans. Mm-hmm. There was this thing that people call Black Hollywood, the actors and the filmmakers. That started in the Harlem Renaissance all through the 80s and 90s. And I worked a lot through those films and television shows like Moesha and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the Steve Harvey Show. And that paid my bills. And also I was very comfortable because I grew up in Black and Latino neighborhoods. And so watching this film in that time, I was very much a part of the community and the voice and everything. And I still am. But also I was younger, and I was, at 20-something, I think Sidney Poitier's character, Walter, is like 35 in the film.
35.
But he's a young father.
Yes.
And the way he's talking about life and his pain and about wanting to be seen and wanting to be supported by his family and seeing in the world.
To chase his dream.
And failing. And failing. Mm-hmm. I mean, blatantly he fails in the film. I really felt those, as a young man trying to be somebody, trying to be heard. And that plight never ends, but that was really a very strong, just a thing that kind of resonated in me. But when I'm watching it now, I see him has a younger energy now. Like, look at that. Like,
look at me.
Well, look at you when you're younger. Yeah. Like how angry you are and how emotional, and how you can't really see the whole
picture.
And then part of me sees what the mom is talking about more, or the sister. I can see what the sister's doing, what the wife wants, and then when he kind of gets his man at the end, it's like I that's something it didn't hold as like strong as me when I was younger. But what held strong was the performance and the wanting to be seen and to be able to to get your own greatness. Mm-hmm. Whereas now when you watch the movie, I mean, really for him to kind of prove himself, his manhood really kind of
because right now, like, you're able to, I think my personal
Are you judging me?
No, I'm not judging you. I think right now you're just able to like change your point of view, and look at the thing a different point of view, and put in yourself in different people's shoes and a different perspective, and looking at the picture in a bigger side.
And how did you feel? It was your first time seeing the film?
This is my first time seeing. Like every time I feel like it's just like this is my first time. Like, I mean,
it's a black and white film. For people that have not seen the film, it's black and white, and we're gonna be getting some people in that hopefully people that have came and watched the film, and we can get some other fans of the film and or filmmakers and talk about this with you guys. We're just kind of like starting to starting off the conversation.
I feel like this is like it's like typical. I didn't feel this is black and white, but I just really like emotional, get into the character. And after the movie, I got a little bit like emotion and just like a little quiet and in my head zone and thinking about it, like why people struggle and how we can change that, how we can, like this one dialogue in the movie, it's really shocked me that the white guy, he represented that community association, and he said it's really hard to change people's heart. I mean, I'm not trying to be racist. Like if you look at it, like I have a dream in my heart and I have my own goal in my heart. Like it's hard to change that. But if it's a racist or if it's a bad thing, if it's hurting other people's feeling or harming, why do you say that? Like, and then that dialogue, it's literally shocked me. And then they close the door, and the kid, the wife, husband, sister, they just sit there, didn't say anything. That quiet literally like shocked me. And then right after the mother comes in, she was humming with the grandson, so happy, like we're gonna move to new house, we're gonna have a like new life, we're gonna be.
But like, the rest of them weren't phased by it either, because especially adult people of color have been through racist situations.
Of course, I've been through. Everybody.
We've all been through it, so it's like it didn't even shake it much. Like that's messed up, but hey,
No, that's like kind of shaky because.
And it should be
a family, like it's a family. Like they come to your family and knocking your door and get into your roof, under your roof, and then discriminating to
in your house.
Face.
Yeah. In the nicest way possible.
In the nicest way possible, and in that sister, she's super sharp. I love her. Like she's sharp.
Is that who you most? Is it most? Who you most kind of like?
I most see myself. Like as a sister, like in my family, I don't have a brother, but I have an older sister. But I'm a younger kid.
You're the baby.
I'm the baby in the family, so I see myself like with that girl. Like I can't identify like her character, her charisma. So I can see. What are you trying to say?
She was great. No, she was great. I'm also reading the chats. It's kind of on going on fire. What's up, you guys? This is for people that don't know. This is Alice Matula. She's an actress, producer, director from China. She's living here in the States now. And for people that may know Chinese film work, she's worked for years in China and award-winning actress. But now she's in the States acting and writing and producing. And she's not my wife. You're like. Like, this is white. That's a girl. They're calling you the fire. So, but we know we're really good friends. So.
Oh.
So cognac, no disrespect. You guys are all cool out there, but y'all had me rolling for a second as I'm talking about the film. I'm like, what are they talking about?
Are they doing what? I don't see anything. So
I know she can't see. She can't see that she's talking.
I forgot where my contact lenses.
But look, can we look at some questions and we'll see if we
yes.
can get some people inside here, inside the thing, maybe if I can.
You're gonna read the question, please.
Yeah, let me see. How do I touch? Actually, this thing is the way this thing is. I can't touch the thing. Wait a second.
Can you do it now?
Yeah, I can. Questions. Did you see an inspiration from this film in other movies? Calvary says. I don't know. It's 1961. I'm sure a lot of films. I mean,
inspired by this.
Like, you think this
what
film inspired other films? Do you see an inspiration from this film in other movies?
That's a good question.
Everything's kind of linked up, especially when you.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, you can't. I can never say for sure because I don't know the filmmakers, but especially within like, African American cinema or like even I can't speak on that necessarily. But I'm an Asian filmmaker, and it's because it's so small. Like the amount of movies that came out, it's only a handful. Mm-hmm. We've definitely seen. I've seen all of it. So from Joy Luck Club to Better Luck Tomorrow to like films I did like The Debut or like. Mm-hmm. Parasite, or I mean, it's all inspiring. They all kind of connect in a way.
The old-fashioned films, like the connected to.
Yeah,
but specifically, which film? Like
I don't know. I mean, I would think a lot of the films that came out in the '90s probably has this kind of a backbone. I think some Spike Lee stuff. I think a lot of Spike Lee stuff. I'm sure Spike Lee has watched movies. Very much Spike Lee. Uses jazz, which is a lot of jazz in this film, and excuse the sounds outside, but Spike Lee's New York and it's that city thing and the way the jazz is in the film.
Jazz in the film and the way they, for the camera wise, like directing wise, I feel like there's a lot of film like one location and then interior,
right.
And then maximum 2 or 3 location. There's that type of the film a lot,
right?
And then besides that, I mean, it's maybe I'm pretty sure it's a lot of films like that. Do you have a second question?
I don't know what there's. I'm gonna say. Should I turn close window?
Let me do it.
Okay. Well, let me bring someone in. There's some people that request if you want to talk about the film. If you've seen the film, you want to talk about, or you're a film lover. Sorry about the construction outside. I didn't know that was on today, but let's see. Allie's coming in. Let's see if Allie.
We're talking about film.
Thank you, Adios
in the Sun.
Hi.
Hi, Allie. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I am a big fan.
I'm doing well. Are you a film lover? Have you seen this film, or do you love cinema in any way?
I think I saw the film in high school, and I believe
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you saw this film in high school.
It's been a long time ago, but I really enjoyed the value that the family had, with living together and just, being able to come together. And I think it was the grandma that always cracked me up. She seemed like she always had, the strongest values of everything
she was great. Claudia McNeil, she had some strong stuff when she slapped her daughter when she was talking about like not believing in religion. And I get that. I've had that conversation with my grandmother. And
I have a conversation with my mother too.
It's just the new mindset's like that's old thinking, which I agree with. But at the same token, when you're under your mother's house or your grandmother's house, though, it's like you might get slapped for saying something blasphemous.
Well, and as a Christian myself, because I grew up, in a Christian home, and my grandma is like the strongest Christian I know, and but everybody's got their own beliefs. Everybody comes from different families, and I think it's cool that and even though I've never met you, Alice, but I think it's really cool that you come from China to here in the U.S. to learn about how to be a movie star. And I like a lot of Chinese actors like Jet Li.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Jet Li? I love Jet Li. And Zhang Zi. I think it's Zhang
Zi, yes.
I can't pronounce her name either, and she corrects me all the time.
It's fine. I can't pronounce a lot of words either. Like we're learning from each other.
That's the crazy thing.
Right,
I mean, I think when you watch films and books and art of other cultures, and you connect with them, and you see that we're actually more alike than different. And as much as we may think of one culture being so odd, when we try to say something in their culture, we're the same people, but in reverse. Like I can't even say a simple word. I feel like an idiot, you know?
No, don't feel that.
I hear you.
We all learning. Thank you very much for.
But that's amazing. And Allie, I think one of the great things that I think as we grow up and we all have different points of view or religions or come from different neighbors or backgrounds, the maturity that understands like there's actually more than one right. Like what's right for me and what's right for you.
Yes.
We can both be right at the same time. It doesn't take away each other's rightness or anything from each other. If you can just, we have different perspectives and point of view, but like we actually can both be right. That's fine.
The point, I think it's point is not being a right. Point is being understanding each other and then being respect and being kind. And even though we're wrong, like even though I'm right or I'm wrong or you're wrong, right, or we have a totally different belief system or perspective or whatever, as long as we respect each other and then understand each other and then willing to learning from each other, that's the best point.
Yeah.
I think that the movie has a beautifulness like that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Allie.
Thank you. And I
have a great day.
You too. I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, she was cool. She was super cool. Let's see who else is around.
Let's see. I can't see.
Let's see. I think
I forgot to wear my contact. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
You're gonna tell me who's coming, but I can't see.
Sirhan, I don't know. But maybe they're not. Maybe that one was gone. Oh. Someone said yes, and then they're gone. Let me try another one.
I have a lot of like codes for the movie. My favorite codes.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Great. No, I'm trying to get
in my mother's house. There's still a God.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
She got slapped for that. Spoiler alert. I saw Elise say something.
She just slapped the daughter and repeat after me.
You got slapped.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's someone coming in. I mean, I'm trying to get to people in, but sometimes people come in and they leave before I get them.
Do you want to connect more?
Let's see. Adriana. Maybe Adriana? Ayumi? 2614? Yes, it's connecting.
Yes.
Adriana. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. So excited. So I saw this film like 14 years ago.
Okay.
And I remember it.
What's your memory of it?
So I remember, the family, it's the father, he wants better for his family to move into this neighborhood. Of course, during that time period, it's not an easy decision to move when there's a lot against you.
Right.
But I also remember the brother was saying to his sister that you are technically white, you're not connected to your roots or anything like that.
Yeah, because she's going to college, she's trying to be a doctor. There's a lot of these conversations still go on today within all cultures, but especially in people of color culture, whether you're Black, Asian, Latino, like we have those same conversations.
Yeah, we do. And the crazy thing is, like, I'm not really connected to my heritage at all. So my mom's Dominican, my dad's Italian Argentinian. I just grew up completely American. Like,
right.
I don't even speak Spanish, which is bad. I've been trying to learn, but I don't speak it. And then there were no traditions in my household. There's no like food. There's nothing. So I was like,
they addressed that in the movie too. If you go back and watch it, because the daughter or the sister who's studying a doctor, she ends up dating a guy from Africa.
No, Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
Pacific part of Africa. Like we're American, we're like Africa. I don't know. But from Nigeria, and they're all not making fun of that, but they're showing
they have
like
a different perspective.
They don't know.
Like you don't know this part of the culture.
And even like the grandmother who's like the eldest of the family, like no one really knows about Africa. Like don't have them come here and say some stupid stuff about Africa. And like, yeah, sure, we're African American. They're like, well, we don't know nothing.
Doesn't know, yeah.
So I mean, that's one of the idiosyncrasies of being American. I'm Filipino, and I don't really know. I mean, I've been going back a lot more in the last decade, so I've been trying to connect with where I'm from and understand that aspect of it. I don't speak the language either. I'm trying to learn the language. It's very hard. And it's interesting hanging out with someone who, you know, is the first generation from their country to come here. And it's like, you know, like for me, 3 generations down, it's like, well, we don't know anything anymore. What we do know, we know very little. And so it is fascinating.
Yeah, I'm trying to like learn about all of the different cultures and like just learning and educating myself as much as I can, because it's like also something that's not talked about is technically, even from my mother's side, I am Black.
Right,
But
the Dominican side,
never,
right?
Yeah, from my Dominican side, but it's never been talked about in my household. Same thing with religion, how the grandmother's religious. Both of my parents are like, yeah, I believe in God, but they're not the type of people to go to church or do anything. So it's
Right.
like,
Well, you're Latino, and Catholicism and Latinos is strong, and the Latino side of the Filipinos also, you know,
yeah,
we have the
it's
same rule of the Spaniards
strong.
for hundreds of years, and it's very strong within our
Yeah.
community. My grandmother is like, it's strong. I mean, we're all praying that Santo Nino hard. But you know, things that get watered down to generations, different trains of thoughts come in, and it's interesting to this movie is years old, over 50, 60 years old almost, and to
Yeah.
see how certain things are still kind of the same, even though things have changed. It's really interesting.
Family
I would
values.
say watch it again. It's been 14 years. I think it's a great thing to watch when you're in high school or something like that, but it's also great to see it as an adult and like feel
It's
it
so
in
many different perspectives, like when you rewatch the film.
Right. Just it's still beautiful. I mean, it's poetic. The poetry's in the film. It's like a lot of heart, and the performances are pretty jarring to me still.
Exactly.
But thank you so much, Adrian. It was
Yeah,
good to
thank
see
you.
you
Thank
again.
you for joining us.
Nice to see you. Hope you guys are safe and have fun.
Thank you so much.
You
Cheers. All right. Like, should we see if someone else is around? I thought Kat one maybe came in this day, or she had another friend, a filmmaker, that wanted to talk, which I would love. Kwame or something like that. If you're that Kat, if you want to come and talk, do a request, and or oh, here comes Kat right here. Kat.
Kitty cat.
We're back with Kat. I haven't
The bar is, what is the bar name? The Kitty Cat.
The Kitty Cat. Yeah, the bar was called the Kitty Cat. Kat, that's what's going on. You're back.
Hi.
I saw you watch the film from your story.
I did, and it was my first time.
Awesome. Let's talk about it. We have a little time to talk about it. I also thought about, because of you and the sexist concepts of where it is two for the road. I actually thought about that again. We talked about it a little bit after we watched the film. I was like, what are Kat's going to say about that? Because it is one guy, and it's the 60s, so it's very much tainted of like, if you look at it, you know, we progressed in our you know, whatever gender roles or lack thereof. So there's a lot of that in there. You know what I'm saying? What the guy's role is and what the girl's role is and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not gonna talk anymore. Drop some knowledge. Kat, go ahead.
Okay, so the whole film, I needed to remind myself that it was a play first, right?
It was a play by Lorraine Hansberry.
Yeah, and it feels like a play when you watch it because you know it's like really simple setup. Usually we're told, you know, as filmmakers that movies should show what's happening, not tell it. But all of this was just telling it, and it really made me re-admire how important it is to have good dialogue and obviously good
dialogue.
acting.
It's like poetry. It's so poetic. Like you're watching it going, this poetry.
Yeah, and my friend Kwesi, who I told you about, he said, I know it's a black and white film. I know it's like an older movie, but just sit through the first 10 minutes and it'll get you. And I was being bratty and I was just like, oh, like this isn't seeming interesting, but it grabs you, you know, with the dialogue and the story and just quickly showing you all the dynamics between the family members really got me. One thing, there's a lot of themes I noticed. The biggest one I'm thinking about right now is the concept of like Black joy and Black joy interrupted in this film. And I feel like it was really symbolic, like when they were playing the jazz music and they were like dancing on top of the tables and just existing, you know, just being. And it literally gets interrupted by like the man who knocks on the door from the white.
There's a construction going on. I don't know why.
I understand. Either have construction or helicopters or sirens.
Helicopters, police sirens.
That's interesting. Black joy. It is interesting to think of some of the themes that we know as a culture today, 60 years later or whatever, and seeing how it kind of, you know, how that plays in today's society. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, so their joy literally gets interrupted, and I feel like that's such a good example of what's still happening. Like, I know this is the 1961 film, but it just shows, and I feel like, you know, with Black Lives Matter, like, they're just like, Black people are not, they don't want it, they don't want revenge, they don't want to be like the superiors, they just want to be, you know, they just want to exist, they just want the same rights to be able to move into this neighborhood and not get side-eyed for it or not get red line for it. And I was reading about like the housing discrimination that still happens.
Exists.
And I feel like for people, I feel very privileged, you know, like I didn't know about, you know, systemic racism. I didn't know that within the housing industry, like there's loopholes and laws that stop Black people and people of color from buying property, from moving into certain neighborhoods. And it's very like hush hush and it's like illegal, but there's just so much of it happening, and it shows in the way like communities are structured. So
and 60 years later, it's still happening.
Yeah. And I was like, also just thinking about how we see black and white films and black and white photos, you know, of like Martin Luther King, stuff like that, and we feel like it's so long ago, but I'm like, it's not that long ago.
Not
you know,
that long ago.
There's still people alive from that time.
That's only 60 years ago. The people in that movie, I mean, Sidney Poitier, some of them are passed with us. Sidney's still alive.
Years.
And you watch that film, and he's talking about his grandmother, his mother, and the mother's talking about her grandfather was a slave. Like, it wasn't history. Yeah. It was like, your grandfather was a slave. You know, it's like, it's not that far. And what's also crazy, which I was saying, even though it's 60 years ago, I think we have a great performance. You have timeless performance and timeless words. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that's felt very dated and interesting, but cool.
Yeah.
But then Sidney Poitier, there was things Sidney Poitier was doing. He was just standing there, and he's like in a polo shirt, and it was like, I know that dude today, right now. Like, he looked like someone like right now, like down the block, in the way he was doing his thing. And I think sometimes that's a great thing about art that transcends. It becomes timeless. He's just standing there in a polo kind of talking. It was just like, looked like some guy right now. Yeah. Like a hipster in Silver Lake. That's what he looked like, a hipster in Silver Lake. It was crazy.
The problem they're facing, and then the family's problem they're facing, the dream they're fighting, everything, the dialogue they're talking. Of course, some of them, they're like performance-wise, they're like kind of like a dramatic way. But the issue, their goal, their obstacles, everything is not dated. Like, we are facing the same problem right now. Mm-hmm. Even after 60 years, like, we are struggling, no matter you're black, no matter you're white, no matter you're Asian, all family has a struggle. Mm-hmm. Everyone has the same, like, individual family members, they have individual dreams. They fight for their, like, me, my dream. Everyone fight for that. And then third, we're still fighting for Black Lives Matter
today,
even after
right
60 years.
Right.
Why we're not changing? Why we're not learning something? Why we're not like listening to each other? Why we're human still after 60 years? We are the same animals in 60 years before. That's my question. Like, why we're not being a better person?
I mean, things have changed, but not enough. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not gonna say nothing's changed, but I mean,
yes, some things changed.
Not. I mean, we have had some progress, not enough.
Something has changed, even though like sexism, like even though like way they talk to their like wife and sister, like you should be get married, being a like, why do you want to be a doctor?
A lot of that stuff is like, you can't like talk to women.
I can be a doctor because I'm a woman.
You can't talk to women in the same way. It's a different time.
And then besides that,
and what your role is in the house, or what your role is you can't. That doesn't go by.
Why, like, and then besides that, and then, like, racist things still exist. That's like keeps me awake like all the time. Why we're like as a human, like if you treat a dog for 3 months, the dog is not the same the dog in 3 months ago.
Right.
They know the rules, they know the treat, they being better pet, they being better dog or better thing. Why we are as a human why we're not being a better person each day? Like 60
That's
years
the
ago,
question.
60 years ago,
You just
we're
got to
still
America.
raising.
You just got here.
Doesn't matter.
She just got here. She's asking these damn questions. We've been learning this for a long time.
I mean, I think we can run in circles saying like, I thought people know better. I thought we're all taught to love each other. But I think the tricky thing with racism is it's like it hasn't left. We know that. We would like to think it did. It has transformed in ways that are really hard to identify. Totally. And we live and breathe it. Like I have racist thoughts that I constantly have to check, and I have to ask myself, where did that come from? You know, because it's a
Cat, check those racist thoughts.
Thing. Yes, it's like, and everyone has to. So I think that's an important point I wanted to make. It's just
yeah. I mean, but it is beautiful to watch a film like this so long ago. And there's more films since that you just see the humanistic side of cultures that we don't usually get to see. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm big. All the films I produce, for people I've never seen anything that I've actually produced, I produced in the last 10 years. I produced solely Asian American films, and people are like, "Why are you doing Asian American films?" And even my friends in the industry that are white producers and directors, like, if we put like a white guy or white girl in this, we're gonna be able to raise more money and have more impact. I'm like, this is the deal. I'm not really making film, to pay my bills. I mean, I'm an actor, so I'm fortunate in other ways. But if I want to produce stories, I want to tell these stories because I know that it was not there when I came up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's trying to do something better for the next generation. And also, people they go, what is representation? What does representation mean to me? And I'm like, when I make a film and I put a person of color as the lead role, do you understand? That's representation, because us as an audience are the usually more or less the protagonist, or any character in film, but usually protagonists. And that means us as an audience, we walk miles and miles in the protagonist's shoes. It just so happens that the way Hollywood was created and how it's been run since the beginning of Hollywood, over 100 years, it's been, over 95% a white straight male has been the protagonist, and us as a world audience community, because Hollywood is the biggest kind of like media in the world and so influential. We've all walked millions and millions of steps as a white straight male, and we have saved the world as him. We have fell in love as him, have our heart broken as him. We've gone through the whole thing, and so we have so much empathy because we understand that we don't have enough stories like this where we can see, because at the end of the day, we're all the same, more or less. Our loves and wants but when others don't get to experience, walking in the steps of African Americans or women or Asians or Latinos, you don't get to see the connection. Because this film is an African American film. They're talking about specific things within their community, but if you look at it, it's not the whole film. It's like smaller parts of the film they'll talk about. When a white guy comes and some racist things happen, and there's things about where they are in their, the jobs they have to do. But the wants and desires that each character has are just universal wants and desires of anyone.
Right. And
go ahead.
And I think anyone that watches Raisin in the Sun can relate, because all of us have hardships, right? I think the main point we want to hit here is, and with Black Lives Matter too, in this film, is every family has hardships, has troubles, has worries, but not every family has those because of their race. Like, they wanted to move into this house.
Yes.
They have the money, they have this, but you can't because you're offending. Just your existence is offending this white neighborhood who just wants you to be black, but be black over there.
Right.
And I think about what you're saying about like Asian representation, all kinds of representation in Hollywood films is like, right now you think of a lot of Asian films, there's either martial arts, right? Or what are we usually known for? A kung fu film. And so right now we're moving towards just being. So what I was saying earlier, of just a family that just wants to exist and just be. So for
or women, and a lot of great actors over the decades, but they're highly sexualized. The Asian women, if they're coming into it, they're like, so like,
why does the Asian female always have to be like the edgy friend with like a colored thing in her hair or like a feather earring? Why does she have to know how to fight? Why does she have to be smart at math? Or like, why does an Asian man have to be like, sorry, Don,
Kung
like
Fu
a break
or
dancer?
nerd? Kung Fu or nerd?
Kung Fu or nerd?
And so telling these stories where it's not the stereotype, it's just them, not because they're Asian, but Asian is just another part of all the other things in their identity, I think is what we're moving towards. But to get there, we're making films about our culture because that's been like out of the story, or a white person has been like inserted, you know, into the film. Like Mulan with Disney, I heard at one point, like
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
What? I don't think it's come out.
I know, but I have some friends that already saw it.
Oh.
Well, you know, it's supposed to come out earlier, and a lot of people got the early screening of it, and I missed it.
Ooh. I can't wait to see it, but I know at one point they were announcing I think Mulan was not an Asian woman at first. We had to fight for that. Like they announced, I think she was Caucasian. That's crazy. And so
we're in an era where you definitely can't do that. That's like, you just can't do it.
Yeah, but we had to speak up for it. So it's great that we can do that and kind of rock the boat a little, because before all this, when there's Asian stories, usually there's a white Caucasian character inserted into like a love story, or inserted as the lead to make the story relevant. And it's just like, why do we, like, what was that Tom Cruise movie, like The Last Samurai or something?
Yeah, that was
stuff like that. It's just like the white.
That was strange.
I mean, I could go on and on about this.
Tom Cruise Last Samurai. I know. We'll go on. Well, thank you for joining us. Did your friend ever? I don't think you ever requested.
I think he's in here right now. His name's Kwesi, but yeah, if you want to choose him, please.
I'll see if I can find him. But thank you for joining us. I'm gonna see if I can find him real quick. I would love to have him talk. And with movie for next week. See, when you're around, I always think about the movie for next week. Let's go to like a new modern. It's kind of a classic. Again, I'm choosing stuff that will help us and stuff we're writing and things like that. And I was watching the series High Fidelity, but I think we should watch the movie High Fidelity.
Have you seen it?
Have you seen the movie High Fidelity?
No, but you're trying to choose things to help the screenplay you and Alice are writing.
Well, I mean, I'm just doing cinema classics, but obviously I'm picking cinema classics that are helpful for us. But have you watched High Fidelity yet?
No.
Well, watch High Fidelity. The series is on right now, where it's a John Cusack film. Mm-hmm. And it's probably nice. It's a later. It's not black and white. So High Fidelity. Check out High Fidelity. We'll talk about it next week.
All right.
And see if things change since the mid '90s. And there's a series. Zoe Kravitz's mom, Lisa Bonet, was in the original movie, and so she's playing the John Cusack character in the series, which is cool. And I just finished the series, so I kind of want to go revisit the film. I think it's good. I'm down to talk about it with everybody. So next week, you guys, High Fidelity.
High Fidelity.
I'm gonna see if I can find Kwesi. Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
See you later.
Let's see if Kwesi came on. Did Kwesi come on? I don't. Oh, I did. Let's see. Kwesi. Let's see if Kwesi will join us. Yo, Kwesi, you around?
Raisin in the sun. My favorite dialogue. Listen, man.
Kwesi. What's up, man? I'm Dante. This is Alice.
My name is Alice.
Hey, nice to meet you, man. I know this brother from a long time ago, man. That's the man right there.
Hey, I know.
It.
So thank you for joining our book club, our cinema club. It's like a book club. We just talked about cinema classics, and this week we're talking about Raisin in the Sun. And Kat was like, "You're a filmmaker and a teacher."
Yeah. I teach film. I teach African American film history and production.
So you're actually the dude to talk to. Drop some knowledge on us, because we're trying to figure it out.
I mean, yeah, like honestly, it was the first time I ever saw that film. Sidney Poitier, like I grew up thinking Sidney Poitier was kind of a sellout because of the way he was depicted in other films.
Right.
Yeah, because he's like such a straight-laced like guy, and his strength was always holding in that anger, right? Like holding in and just like letting a little bit out. When I think, black audiences at the time, they wanted to see someone like spaz out on white people, spaz out on society. That's why the blaxploitation films were really popular in the community.
Did a handful of those also. Sidney did a handful of those also.
Yeah, Uptown Saturday Night. But he was like older.
Uptown Saturday Night.
Yeah. But he was old. He didn't have that. Like, you see him here, he's not holding anything back. He's just like explosive and like.
Explosive. It's like a crazy performance. It made him a superstar, this performance.
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing. So I think the thing that stuck out to me though was Ruby Dee, because Ruby had to hold. She was holding space for everybody in that film, for her son, for her mother-in-law, for her husband, and it literally like destroyed her. A couple times, like she's fainting.
Totally.
And I mean, in the story, of course, is that she's pregnant, but it's also just all the stress that she has to carry. And the moments that she lets it go, the moments where she's just like, I'm finally going to get out this house. I'm finally going to have this house. It's not going to fix her life, but just getting that stress of like not being like around everybody all the time was so great to her. It was, you know, you could see it. It looked like she saw God. I was amazed by her performance. It was so good. And it also brought up to me how we as a country rely on Black women for so much. 100%. And 100%. We don't, I just want them to rest, man. I was like, these sisters been working for 400 years.
I think, so you know, with Black men, even in my film, it's called Fabulous Filipino Brothers. I get, you know, we lean a lot on the women also. I think it's culturally part of our culture to a degree. And again, it's not fair all the time either. It's about the guy, you know what I'm saying? A lot of our culture, even like just all American culture.
I thought you were concerned about the guy's dream, fighting
I
his
am
dream.
concerned about the guy's dream, but the women
yes,
are
from perspective, it's like, what about the guy's dream?
I know.
He's fighting for his dream.
But I think that's the great thing about the film is that it shows both sides, where it's like we want to see the American dream. We want this dude to get his liquor store. That's not like this incredible dream. Like he doesn't want to be Superman.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Dream. Basic.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to be like Jackie Robinson. He just wants to own a liquor store. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't even own a bar. He just wants to own a store.
Don't you think his little like his personality? Don't you think his little like spoiled little son?
I mean, the women, some of the women looking at him like he's like being, but you know, it's a guy that's like, can I just be my own boss? Do I gotta work for someone my whole life? Can I just have a little piece of America, the American pie, where I can just not big, just be like have on my own stuff?
No. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
But then it's like we also see like what's the weight of having that desire that you can't easily get, right? Like the entire system is based for him. He can't go to the bank and just ask for a loan.
Nope.
He's got to deal with these hustlers.
Nope.
And then like the only way he can make more money is to subjugate himself even more than he would do as a drummer.
He lost big time on that one. He lost big time on that. He got bamboozled on that one.
Yeah,
we all catch L's though, but we all catch L's. On the way up, we all catch some L's. For sure.
It's true. But who holds the L's? In that household, it's Ruth.
It's true.
Right? Like Ruth can't run out. Ruth can't go get drunk.
That's true.
She's pregnant.
She has to swallow all of it.
Ruth can't like spaz out and start dancing and get drunk, dance on the table. I got to talk to my girl about this afterwards because I didn't see any joy in that moment. That dude was drunk and sad and depressed, and it looked like joy because he had nothing else left. But I'll talk to Kat about that. That's not right.
Talk about that. One thing I want you to speak on too, because you speak on African American films. I think that it's 60 years ago. One of the great things that they did in the film, I guess, also in the play, we're so easy as a society, especially when we look at a minority group, to just classify everyone blanket like people are like this right now. One of the beautiful things, even 60 years ago in this movie, you got this blue collar family. Okay, there's some stereotypes of what we know as African American culture, but then you got the rich. Lou Gossett Jr. comes in as the rich young black dude, right?
Yo, Lou Gossett Jr. does not look right as a young dude. I'm sorry, I just think
he looked kind of weird as a young dude, right? And then
it was weird,
from Africa, like an African from Africa. So you're seeing all these different colors of what blackness is in America, which in the 60s, we do films these days, which where there's like not a lot of texture of what's going on with who we are. You know what I'm saying?
He's making fun of his white shoes.
His shoes. There's like.
Oh yeah, that was all bad.
I appreciated being able to not blanket a culture or people like y'all are this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, we're all this, but we're all of that. Yeah. We are that, but there's all these other stuff going on too.
Now, see, the thing about that, what that brought up for me was like, how close was his family to being the Lou Gossett Jr. family? Like, how many things went right, or how many it's just a game of inches. You know what I mean? To get that American dream, and I think it's like if I'm it's Walter, right? I either want to say William.
Yeah, Walter Lee.
Yeah, if I'm Walter Lee, I might be looking at this dude like, yo, your dad did the same shit I did, but it just worked out for him, right? Like it's all that close. I'm sure like you guys could think of, or I got some some of my boys that I grew up with.
But see, I go back to the Philippines and I hung out with like my cousins or my second cousins, and I look at my grandfather. I'm like, it was a flip of a coin, huh? Like,
yeah.
You know, just with
It
choice
really
here
is.
and there, and like my grandfather did this, won the service, and now we're in America doing. I'm making movies in America. You're getting this village still, and it was
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
maybe,
we're that
and
far
maybe
apart.
it's
It's
not
like that
even.
much.
That one.
Yeah, maybe it's not even a choice. Maybe it's
No,
just
maybe not a
like,
choice.
yeah, like I got this job that gives me upward mobility with, somebody who wants to support me, and this dude is a chauffeur,
Right.
and they just care about driving a car, and that's not a choice. That's just luck, and
Right.
I think that's I mean, the thing about the film is the existential angst of trying to reach for the American dream, right? Like,
We all have
how
to.
can you do that when the system is set up for you to fail? And like, what's the weight of that? So, I mean, one quote that they said was, the mother initially looked for houses in the black neighborhood, and they were like, it's
It's
too
too much.
expensive.
It was too expensive.
Yeah, but it's like, to me, I'm like, wait, why would it be more expensive?
But not only
Or
that, it
is
makes you
it
think
the
what kind of
whole?
white neighborhood. This wasn't a dope white neighborhood. This was a white
Yeah,
neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't even a great white neighborhood.
Well, but here's
It's not
my
like you're moving to
question: the
Beverly
person.
Hills. She's like, we're moving over to like,
Time, but
you know what I'm saying?
No, I do, but I guess my question is this: like, is the bank saying for these black people, for this neighborhood, this black neighborhood, we trying to break it up, so it's too much, you can't afford it, you gotta go
That's true.
somewhere else,
That's true.
right?
Who knows?
But
I
if
don't
it
know,
was
but
a
that's
white
true.
neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, that's not in the text, it's not in the film, but it made
Right.
me think, like, why would you do it? But again, it's showing like, okay, you have this dream, you want to have this thing, you want to have the American dream, you want to own a piece of property. That's great, but we actually have all this systematic racism here to prevent it from you. And you
Yeah, I feel
brown
you.
Asian
I
people
feel you.
have to deal with
And what's
this.
crazy, and I want to bring up a point. We're almost out of time because I can talk to you forever about this. This is crazy, but you're talking about Sidney Poitier. I think one of the backlashes on him, he's very well spoken. He's like the most well spoken black man of
Yeah,
his time, but he's brown skinned, right? So he fits
yeah,
those things. Like he's not light skinned, but he's also not from America. And he talks about in
yeah,
his book where he was able to perform and speak in a way that, when you grew up here, you're beaten down in a certain way, and you're kind of having a fear to really show yourself without fear of like, having people be scared of you to a degree. And he had this thing because he came from an island in Bohemia or whatever where he was from, which island, Gato Island, something like that, where he just came to
yeah,
America as like he didn't have the oppression his whole life,
yeah.
which is fascinating.
Well, I mean, those places were colonies of England. He grew up in a colony of England.
Right.
That's why
But he
he
just grew up
spoke that
poor. He
way.
like grew up in an island. He's like
Yeah,
he didn't have a lot of people. There wasn't a lot of white
yeah,
people. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, listen, I was wrong. I was raised the wrong way. Sidney Poitier is gangster.
Yeah, he
Like,
is.
but
But I just
I'm just
don't think
saying,
because
like,
I grew up I grew up in neighborhoods
I
where
never
like
saw
if he
this
spoke
performance.
that proper, he wasn't representing us. You know what I'm saying? Like that dude ain't really
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
representing because
Well,
so
yeah,
to a degree where my neighborhoods if we spoke proper, we were like, you two's proper speaking.
mhm,
And again, that was like the 90s. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
it's just a different way. It's different to look
yeah,
at careers and perspective later on.
yeah. But he had this one movie where he was like in a chain gang with Tony Curtis.
Defiant ones.
Yeah. And he got at the end, spoilers for a movie that's like 70 years old, but like he got free at the end and he could either go and help Tony Curtis or like run off.
Yeah.
And in the movie, he chooses to go after Tony Curtis.
Right.
And so like people in my mother's generation were like, that would never happen. To that. And poor Sydney, he just got the weight of that. You know what I'm saying?
It's a righteous
Like it
move.
should have
It's
been
a
on the
right.
writers
He
and
had
the
to be.
directors.
That's the thing also about, I think, even within the Black Lives Matter movement, like African, like the black movement is like, you got to be good and even more righteous than anyone. It's not enough to be equal. You got to be
Good.
righteous about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's some people like, not like we asking for revenge. We asking for equality, which is like,
Just better.
that's interesting. You see what I'm saying? Like the normal person would probably want revenge, like leave that white guy there. But it's part of the movement is like, no, we are going to lift up them also.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's during the Black Power movement. They were like, nah, we're good.
Yeah, the Black Power movement, they're like, you need to leave that dude in the chain out there. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
It's
Black
interesting to
Lives
look at
Matter
art
and picking
as we
the dude
make
up.
films, how it's going to be seen 50 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he looks good in this one. I'm like, man, I can't believe Puffy played this part. That's crazy.
Puffy played it on Broadway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not see it, but that's crazy.
I didn't see it either, and now I don't think I want to see it because I don't think there's any way that Puff can come close to this.
It's electrifying.
If you could cast it now, if you could cast this film now, who would you put in the parts?
Mike B. Jordan, maybe. Mike B. maybe.
Huh?
Mike B. Jordan, maybe.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I see something like that. You know,
okay.
Definitely something like that. But I mean, I've talked to other actors about it, like as electrifying and how game changing Marlon Brando's performance in Streetcar was, and it changed the whole game of acting. I think Sydney had a very similar thing in the world of acting, especially acting for people of color, because it's the same. And it did. The irony is they did it at the same time on Broadway, and these films came out similar times, and they were friends. They came on the joints, and they lit stages on fire. And they changed acting forever and changed filmmaking. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I like the era because you can see those old school. Like the grandmother was very theatrical, right? She's very
that hat. She's wearing that hat. She's wearing that hat.
Yeah, that was an amazing hat.
I love that hat.
He was all sad. He's like,
but they did great acting. It was still great. It was just still. I mean, I was really emotional when I finished the film. I was like very moved by the film. All these years later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Queasy, man, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks, brother. Thank you. Thanks. Nice meeting you.
Join us again. I'd love to get your perspective on things.
Yes, sir. I'll see you all later.
All right.
All right, that's our hour's just about up. Thank you guys for joining us.
It was a great talk, though. It's so much fun. You were like talking.
I was hyped. I love if you guys are out there, you guys are watching the film, if we can get you on to talk, because I know we can only get a handful of people in, but when you get there, we can talk about movies and about how it made you feel, whether you watched it recently or years ago, because we are talking about classics. I love film, so it's exciting to talk about.
Absolutely, it's for sure. Me too. Like, even though like it's classic film or white and black, doesn't matter. It's all a good story, and it's like nonstop talking as a new generation in an actor, producer, director perspective. It's just it's fun. It's like endless.
It's endless. And talking to you guys out there give me a new perspective on how to look things.
Exactly. I'm looking at the situation, looking at different people's perspective, different people's ideas. It's always fun to listen, always fun to like learn, and it's always fun to listen from me, like outside. I'm not grow up in the United States, and I'm telling my perspective, and you're like, huh?
What you talking about?
Didn't you just came to US?
She's talking about race relations, and she just got here. But she knows race relations in China. Obviously, she's not a typical Chinese, so she understands. She's Uyghur, and so she understands.
I'm studying.
She's
studying.
She's studying. But thank you guys. Thanks everybody for joining us. Next week, what are we watching?
Didn't we just talk about the cat?
I was testing you.
Didn't we talk?
High Fidelity.
High Fidelity.
High Fidelity, starring John Cusack, Jack Black, one of Jack Black's first performances in a film, if not
Wait,
his
why
first.
do you have to pick the movie?
Well, you can pick the next one. I'm picking this one.
You've been picking the past 3 months.
I know, but you didn't want. I don't know. I just picked it. You can pick the next one, but we already said this was going out. Jack Black's in there. Lisa Bonet. There's several other people. It's in the 90s. It's called High Fidelity. Lisa Bonet's daughter's doing a series right now on Hulu. But let's go back to the original and watch a modern day classic, kind of like it's called High Fidelity.
High Fidelity. If you guys missed our live show, please join us on YouTube, which is I'm posting on YouTube our Cinema Club channel. So this is just I just posted on 8 hours ago. It's brand new. Yeah, I'm gonna have a swipe up, and I'll leave the link in my when I post this on my IGTV, so you guys can go to and subscribe on YouTube if you want to watch on YouTube. We'll figure out other things to put on that. That's Cinema Club with me and Alice talking about movies. Great. Have a good week, you guys. See you next week. Have a great day. Bye. Bye.